everybody, to the Entrepreneurial CPA Show. We're here to take a deep dive in knowledge you need to break free of the box and punch above your weight. I'm Garrett Wagner, your Entrepreneurial CPA channel host, coming to you with all things that are different about being an accountant. We've got a special guest host today who doesn't always go by accountant, as we've been talking about behind the scenes. Trevor McCandless, CEO of Fusion CPA. Trevor, you are, as you just told me, an operational super consultant.
I appreciate that. Yeah. We definitely, I think we are. I think we're really setting ourselves apart from the pack in diving deeper into client company issues that go beyond strictly accounting and tax.
And I talk about that all the time. We talk about it on the show here, conferences, events with firms. You know, our profession's going through tremendous change. If you want to be relevant going forward, you want your clients to value you, you want to be an entrepreneurial CPA, you got to move past the compliance work. And that's where you're really doing it with the operational consultant. So you can explain to everybody, what does it mean to be an operational consultant to your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I'll start with an example. And as me and you have spoken before, I use the term kind of ripping the Band-Aid off a lot. I think it's within operational consulting, when it typically comes up, you have a client come to you with a myriad of problems. And it's going to depend on if they are totally mentally ready to go down this journey of ripping the Band-Aid off, because you 100% need owner and management buy-in throughout the entire process. So I'll give you an example of, one we were just doing. So when we kick off a session of kind of operational consulting, it can be a 3, 4, 5 hour kind of session to kind of kick it off. And so yesterday we were doing one with one of our clients in the field service vertical. They manufacture and install carports and decks. And in the last 3 months, they have been exploding. And he came to me and he said, Trevor, my employees are overworked. I don't have many documented processes. And worst of all, there's very little accountability. And, we as owners, as we've spoke about before, we get pulled in 20 different directions, and it's a recipe for burnout. And he's gotten this far because he loves the business. He loves challenging himself. He loves the hustle. But meanwhile, and this is a husband and wife team, his wife serves as the COO, and she's also getting pulled in 20 different areas. And between helping the company kind of keep up their production schedules of carports, et cetera, she's also reconciling sales proposals and invoices, in addition to being a life as a mom and homeschooling 2 kids right now during COVID. I mean, you could feel, we did it on Zoom yesterday, and you could feel the stress and the pressure that was kind of exuding from her. And the great thing is I had a big old smile on my face because it's solvable. It is a solvable problem if we take ownership in this process. And so you might be thinking, as I said, Trevor, what the heck does this have to do with accounting? And I'd say, Garrett, everything. Because these are departmental issues that affect revenues, expenses, and profitability. And so part of our job is to understand what the vision is for the owners and their families, from both a numerical and financial sense, but also a life sense. I hope that doesn't sound corny, but it's 100% true, because not everybody wants to work 80 hours a week for the next 10 years. So our job is to kind of understand this, and then we develop key performance indicators around their vision. And these KPIs, they end up coming in the form of weekly KPIs, monthly KPIs, quarterly, and then annual as well. So we understand, if we've got this vision for a year or 3 years, 10 years from now, how are we going to incrementally inch towards that as an organization? And so, as we've also spoke about, you might say, hey, bro, I didn't go to school for that. That's out of my wheelhouse. And I might harshly challenge you to step up. And if we were having maybe like a virtual beer, I might throw a curse word in there. But I think right now, we have to learn to be uncomfortable and learn to grow, because nothing is normal right now. And if you just want to put your head down and do what you did yesterday, I think you're going to find yourself in the dust. And so one way to kind of think about it, this process is it's a process of building a muscle, right? The first couple of workouts are new and painful, but it gets easier and you're much better for it in the long run. But I can't reiterate enough, like you can't, it's very tough to go and try to force this on a client that might not be ready for it. Maybe like it's, maybe the entrepreneur is kind of they're in this for the lifestyle, and that is totally okay. So you can't necessarily go and try to force this on clients, because as I said before, the key ingredient is for total buy-in for the owner and the management team. Does that, I know I kind of rambled, I tend to do that. Does that kind of help
No, I mean, that makes sense. That's what I
frame
see.
what it is?
That's what I see in successful firms and firms that are making this transition. And I talk about this a lot, like you're building your mental muscles and your muscle memory. You know, for me, same thing. Like, you know, the first time I read a strategic plan with a client, that was a lot of work. That was difficult and challenging, and I was sweating and I was nervous. I mean, I could do one of those now, you know, not in my sleep, but it's so much easier now.
Yeah.
You know, think back
You
to
develop a framework for which to do it, and then you know the whole team gets it, and it's kind of like you've got the momentum, and the train kind of keeps on going once you're able to kind of get it going.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. You know, the first time I did a big leadership training seminar for a bunch of CPA firm partners, challenging, a lot of stuff. Now that's a lot easier for me. Mm-hmm. And I think the other part you mentioned there is like, yeah, we didn't go to school for this. But it's important to remember, very few people, literally nobody goes to school to be this like super consultant, super advisor. Yeah. But we talked about McKinsey, a big consulting firm. You know, people don't go to school to become consultants. They go to school for all kinds of other random things. And then McKinsey pulls them in and trains them in the skills they need with a process and a system to do all kinds of consulting.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because as I said, you know, I was reading that book on the history of McKinsey, and in the 1920s, I think when McKinsey was started, their name was McKinsey CPAs and management engineers, which is, it's very interesting that they then shed the CPA but you know, services area, because they were doing audits and CPA work, and the consulting wing and them were kind of fighting. And so these days, obviously they don't do the accounting work, but they evolved, and I think we're all in the middle of evolving, and I think we can do both consulting as well as the accounting work simultaneously.
Yeah, one of my beliefs is strongly with that is the fact that we have this accounting knowledge underneath. Once you put the consulting knowledge on top, it makes us much better. Because I'm sure you've seen, like I've seen, a lot of consultants out there have no accounting framework. So when you tie it back to the balance sheet, the income statement, cash flow, or KPIs, that's where they really like start to fall apart. Mm-hmm. You can tell they don't really truly understand what this means for like taxation.
Yeah.
For the balance sheet.
One thing we also do is we've got a mastermind group within our company of, say we're doing this kind of operational consulting, and we should brainstorm on that sometime, of kind of including some of your listeners into it as well. But it's a monthly kind of mastermind group, and everybody is going through these issues, and they're ready to rip the Band-Aid off and tackle these issues. And it's great energy. So we should brainstorm on working together on that.
Happy to brainstorm on that. So final question for us, we're out of time. You know, have you guys been able to kind of, we talk about this a lot on some other shows, you know, call it solidifying the intangibles. Do you guys have a standard process you use now to be operational consultants?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to fusiontaxes.com, that's our website. On the services drop down, there's business advisory, and we have a 6-part process that we go through specifically with clients, and it works out very well.
I love it, because that's so key as you move into these more advisory services. If you can't solidify that and make it a process-driven thing, then you're requiring Trevor to show up and like go through in his head, here's how we do it, and leave. And you can never grow. You can never
scale. Not possible. That's a recipe for burnout. We can't do that. We got to fight that.
Yeah, and so I've heard from a lot of firms that try to get into this more CFO role, operational consultant, advisor role. and eventually, you said, they burn out because they were never able to solidify it. And it's one or two partners that try, and there's only so much time in the day.
Right.
All right, Trevor, any final thoughts before we go on your journey to becoming an operational consultant and how you make things, let's talk about this then at the end. How do you make things easy for your clients by being an operational consultant?
Well, I think we drink the Kool-Aid first. Everything that, whether it's tax planning, whether it's operational consulting, we tested this stuff out on us first. Like you, I'm an entrepreneur as well. And so I'm not going to go try to coach somebody how to do something if I haven't successfully implemented it within my own team before we kind of go out to the broader public. So I would say drink the Kool-Aid first yourself, and that will help resonate everything we're talking about. It will help you resonate with it a lot more.
Perfect.
That makes sense? Yep.
That makes total sense. And to wrap it up, a little shout out. We're both in the Sage Advisory Council. So we'll, at the next live meeting, we'll do a little Kool-Aid drinking together as well, right?
I love it. Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for Trevor for stopping by. Don't forget, you can click to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And as always, we challenge you to take action to change the world and invest in yourself.